Hi, it's Dave again with DRH Acrylic Creations. Today was going to be just a piece that I was studying the consistencies, and turns out to be a piece that I'm going to be teaching what to look for when you have a failure. And that's what happened with this one. I ended up doing a re-pour over the top of it, but the length of the video was way too long. So I'm going to spend some time. We'll go through the video, and at the end you'll see basically an explanation of all the things that were wrong with this picture. So it's worth seeing just for the fact that you can identify when things went wrong. So let's get down and take a look at the colors. Let's talk about our colors for just a second here. Across the top, this is pearlescent white by Firedots. It started out as a pigment, loosened up with a little bit of Josonia varnish, and added to my pouring medium. And I just put a little tiny shot, maybe a half of a teaspoon of the Boom Flash Blue Chameleon pigment. This is Alzarin Crimson by Golden. This is Ore by This Little Piggy. Started out the same way as the pigment on the other side. It was dry. Had a little bit of Josonia and my pour medium. Down here, this is Indian Yellow Hue by Golden, and this is Qunacridone Nickel Azul Gold by Golden. Oh, my cell activators are going to be Cobalt Teal by Triart and Carbon Black by Triart, mixed with 3 parts of Australian floetrol. Actually mixed it's a little thicker than I have been in the recent past. So I want to see what the difference is going to be, because I really want these cells to stand up. So they're both about the same. It actually might be closer to 2-to-1. Consistencies are very important. Without the right consistency, you're not going to get the results you want. And truly, I can give you recipes of how to guide points just to get close to consistencies. But generally speaking, when you finally start getting paint down on canvas, or in this case board, the consistencies are going to be felt more than measured. And honestly, when I mix something, I do mix it according to my guidelines. And if it's not the right consistency, I adjust. Either add a little bit of Josonia to thin it, or if it's too thin, add a little bit of my Liquitex matte gel to thicken it up just a little bit. And when I say just a little bit, I'm talking maybe half a pea size at most, depending on where the consistency needs to be. That is an eyeball thing. You really have to feel the paint, know what your paints are going to do. So I'm going to do a consistencies video very soon here. I was asked some questions in my last video, and we'll spend some time on that and make it a little clearer of what to look for, at least the starting point of what to look for. Okay, let's get started. My pillow paint for today is the one I've been using for quite some time. And I was asked about the pillow paint also. The pillow paint is very important as far as the consistency goes. Now, I want you to notice, that the consistency of this pillow paint is not too thick, not too thin. It's right there in that Goldilocks zone. It's kind of that. It's a zone where you really want to know that it's not going to get in the way of, you can see the consistency there. It's not going to get in the way of flow, because that's all the pillow paint is for. If I were doing a Dutch pour, it'd be a flow extender, or a cup pour, it'd be called a flow extender. We call it a pillow because our paints sit on top of it and are cradled by it, so the color layer can be allowed to flow, and that's why we call it a pillow layer. Okay, let's see, how do we want to start with this? Generally speaking, when you're layering your colors, you want your predominant color, the color you want to come out the most, to be the first thing you put down. Rule of thumb on that has been that you want to put down the color that is a tube paint first, something that is semi-opaque or opaque. Otherwise, semi-see-through or basically you can't see through. So you're looking for as dense a pigment as you can. I don't know if always keep up with that. If you put down a semi-transparent or a transparent paint, you can see through it. So you're going to see more of the white come up. So that's the thinking behind that. Today, we're going to be using a semi-transparent color down at the bottom because it's the color I really want to have poke through. So I'm breaking my own rule there. I could put down some titanium buff to give me a little bit of something to sit on top of, and it wouldn't destroy the look I'm after. So let me rethink that just a second. I do have some titanium buff mixed up here. So let me uncap it. I have done nothing with this. So there's a very good possibility this is going to be way too thick for right now. And no, actually, yeah, maybe a little bit. So I got to be very careful because when you mix your paints, you really want to kind of try to do it enough ahead of time that the bubbles within the paint when you incorporate can settle off, can pop themselves. So be very careful here. I did this in the last painting and at the last second, and my bubbles did become a problem, and I did it about that much. And that was just enough to get this moving a little bit more. So a little bit of a change of plan. I am adding golden titanium buff to the bottom. It has kind of a beigey kind of hue to it, and it'll do well for this. So I'm going to put that down just to get that pillow paint or that base layer where I want it. I'm pretty generous with this. Just trying not to introduce too many bubbles here. Hope everyone's doing well today. I'm doing my layering here. It takes time. I'm trying to make sure I get enough dead center and around the sides so I get the coverage I want. And it's pretty much just going to kill this little bit of titanium buff that I had made up. It's been sitting there for some time now. What I'm doing when I reach across like that, I have a container of water to catch my stirs when I'm done with them, and it keeps the paint from starting to cake on them, makes it easier for cleanup. I think I said that on my last video also. Okay, so next thing I want to put down are my yellows. Because of these two paints, the most transparent is going to be the Indian yellow, followed really closely by the Qunacridone Nickel Gold. So I think I'm going to go with the Qunag first, and you're going to see with the Qunag, it's a good thing about this is it will look really dense there, but when you stretch it out across the white, or in this case across the titanium buff, it takes more of a yellow gold look to it. Okay, and now the Indian yellow. This is actually just a little bit thin for me. I really should thicken it up. I'm going to roll with it. In this case, when something is too thin and you put it on top of the consistencies don't match, most of the time they tend to disappear. They get sucked up by the other colors, but they also slide around too easily, and they mix more with the colors around them. Now, let's save that for last. That's my sprinkle. little bit of separation between those two layers and put my pearlescent white there. Get a little bit of bubbles there. I'm going to go with my Alzarin red. If you can't see now what's going to happen with this, I'll explain it. Because what I basically put down are warm colors, very sunny colors. What I'm hoping that happens with this is, wait, I have a problem with bubbles. What I'm hoping that happens with this, I'm going to get a sunburst type feel. And finally, this is the ore. It's hard to see this. I wonder if you can see it up there. It is a very bright gold. I see this a lot. I have colors that I really love, and this is one of them. Sorry, my head going in there. I have to get those bubbles taken care of. Okay, now I've got my layers, my puddle down, my puddle of colors. I need to center it just a little bit. Because what I'm going to do with this, I'm going to pull out my hairdryer, and we're going to do a balloon. Because the size of the board and the amount of air it would take to blow this out manually by mouth is more than I can do right now. So let's go next. I have to move fast. Once I put my cell activators, I have to move fast because it's going to start sinking immediately. And you can tell this the consistency is a little thicker than it has been recently, but it seems the thinnest. But because this has a different makeup with the Australian floetrol, it's going to sink faster because it's heavier. So heavier does not necessarily mean thicker. So there you go. I'm going to put down the black on top of the gold. Putting down a decent puddle because I really want to see some cell up. Okay. And on top of that, so we're doing a double today. On top of that, I'm going to put the Cobalt Teal. I want that Cobalt Teal to grab onto the black and create a webbing that is dual color with my flathead hair dryer. I'm putting it on low to keep the heat down. And I put my hand on it to aim it and then finally spread it out. Let it develop a little bit. You did get some beautiful cells. I kind of messed them up here, but that's going to spin off anyhow, for the most part. I'll let it develop just a few minutes. I may have blown down just a little too much, because I'm seeing some nice peacock cells, but I'm also seeing white coming through. And I'll blow a little bit of this out. That's a big old cool cell activator. I'm just trying to create some more of the cells. And one cell developing here. Okay, I think I'm not happy with the amount of pool of cell activator I have there. I'm trying to get it to open up a bit. What looks like white in here is actually that pearlescent white that I put down. So that's a welcome addition. I'm just waiting for this there because I've got, you can't see it from your ankle, but I have 2-3 puddles here that are blown down further, and I'm just waiting for the paint underneath to fill back in a little bit, because it will fill in. And I'm a little on one side and the other, so see if I can move this over just a bit. You see, the outsides are moving, but the middle is staying put because it's really thin there. All I'm really trying to do there, see, there's like a finger and a half, and there's clearly 2 fingers on that side. So I'm just trying to make sure that there's enough paint on all sides to get an even spin. And I don't want to go too wild and crazy because I don't get things wonky on this side. Okay, now rule of thumb, and I've said this many times before: if you spin fast, everything's going to move fast. If you spin slow, your spread is going to happen slower, and you're going to have more control on the composition. So I'm going to just, I don't want these cells to get any more wonky than they already are. So I'm going to go really a soft spin. Saucepan, you can let it go for a little while. So what happens if you've got more on one side or the other and you want to get that part off or this part off? It's simple centrifugal force. For most of us, this is like a review, but what it does for us, centrifugal force picks the spot that's in the center of whatever you're working with, and everything out, it moves faster the further out from that center. So in this case, if I want that part to go off, which I do, I'm going to move things that direction and move the center from here maybe as far as over here. So I'm going to just move that a little bit. Extreme caution on this, because as you move this over, you risk the chance of your canvas or your tile or whatever you're working with spinning off the spinner. So you have to be very careful with that. So take another spin to get that going. And the other side. So I'm pretty happy that I got most of that off on that side. So now I've got this side over here. I need to have some more, but I think I'm ready at this point to start moving paint off of the surface here. So I'm going to go get myself a piddle pad and put it underneath it. I'll be right back. Yeah, I probably should have done that before we started, but the thing is, until I get the paint down, I don't know if I'm really going to need it, and got a little heavy-handed with some of the paint. So I'm seeing some things here I'm not crazy about. Seeing some breakup of my cell activator. So let's get this stuff to move. This is going to be a harder spin. Not going to be horribly hard, but it's going to be harder. And the reason I have a piddle pad is I don't want to deal with a whole lot of mess. Okay, and go to the other side. Close. I got corners over here that need to be covered, so I may have to actually pull up some pillow and cover those. We'll see. Yeah, I think so. Okay. I'm using a little silicone cup, so it's still my PPG, to be able to control how much I put down here more. That little spout on my helps a whole lot with that, but when you get a whole bunch of paint behind it, it can get a little tricky. And all I'm really trying to do with this is give it enough paint to go over the side and not take too much of my color layer. This is the only corner that I think could be problematic. Now see, I didn't use that much. I just enough to get it covered. Guys, this is going to be a longer video than you normally see from me, but I'm explaining things as I go along. I recently ran a poll on my community page, and in case you haven't seen it yet, that community page usually has some information of things that are coming up and what I'm thinking about, and asking questions from you all for feedback. And one of the feedbacks I got recently is they'd like to see more explanation of what different things I say mean. And when I talk about consistency videos coming this week sometime. Maybe post next week, but we'll see how fast I can put it together, because those take a little bit more time to film. Okay, let's get this spun out the rest of the way. I'm not unhappy with what I'm seeing so far. Get an idea of the time it takes to do one of these. Okay, one more soft spin. I'll move this direction. There's more medium spin, but I've got a lot of breakup through here. I'm not happy about that, folks. That's not okay. Oh, look. I'm running my t-shirt. Okay. I think that's about it for right now. So I'm going to bring you down for the Passover. Talk about this, and I'm going to explain to you what my reaction is about this. So here we go. I want you to notice there, first off, overall, it's a bloom that really it's lost its shape. You get down here, you see where all of my lines, I mean all of my cells have started to break up. On the other side it's worse. That side held up okay. You gotta get over here and you can see the grains show up. See it here in just a minute. See the grains show up and the lines in between each one of the cells could start to disintegrate. That's not good. So most likely this piece is going to get scraped. So, and that's okay. These things happen, and I have no problem redoing it. If you'd like to help, leave a like, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications of future videos. It really does help, and it's absolutely free. Okay, there you have it. Today was a mishap, but I hope that you got something out of it. We're always learning, and so at least I am, and I hope that you were able to learn along with me what went wrong. So I hope to see you next time. Bye for now.